Hello everyone, this is Gayle, and welcome to part 2 of my 4 Seasons project. And if you watched the first part, you will know that I was asking where my tile was, and I found my tile. It was over here under some papers. And I got to thinking that I needed to decide what my background was going to be. So what I ended up doing was just getting some scrap clay. I keep scrap clay. This is a mud. This one is a grayish colored mud. Some of them are brown, some of them are gray. But when I get an overabundance of clay, of scrap that I don't think I can use on anything else, I blend them together, put them on one of my plastic deli sheets, and store them this way. Now my pasta machine is only 5.5 inches wide, so that's as wide as I can get a design. I don't know, let me put these up here so I can lay this down. So this is 8 inches by 5.5 inches. I believe it's 8 inches. Helps if I put the inch side on here. Yeah, 8 inches. So because I made these pieces, I think I made them 6 inches, they're going to be too long, see, for this sheet. So I am going to cut, I'm going to actually just lay them on here first. And this is the spring, and I'm going to try to line them up with the edge here. And this is winter. And summer. No, this is fall. And it doesn't matter. I'm going to put a separation between them anyway. And this is summer. And let me hope that it all fits on the clay. Let me put this side over here. And I'm going to go ahead and trim off this extra clay. And let me make sure it's lined up properly. And we'll do another trim later. But at least I want to get an idea of what we're going to have to work with. And this one, let me make sure I'm getting the edge here, there, and here. So I'll trim that off. And then I've got a little bit of brown over here, or gray, whatever you want to call this. So I'm going to trim that off, and I'm going to go to the narrowest place on my blue sheet and cut there. And try to stay, I need to do it on this side. Now the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to go put this gray in with my, I've got some scrap I'm going to be doing the tree with. Oh, I'll leave the blue in there too. What the heck. But you need something thicker than just the one sheet of clay. And you're welcome to use your colored clay if you want. But in something that doesn't and something that doesn't show, I would rather use scrap clay. So there is my base for my project. Now I'm going to put this aside. And I've brought out all of the browns that I had in my scrap, plus there's some of the gray that I just used. And I also have some of this brown, which I think is raw sienna. But I'm going to take my wavy blade. If you don't have a wavy blade, you can use a regular blade, but I'm going to need quite a bit of this. So this is some scrap. Or it's not really scrap, it's some leftover clay that I used in a project. I'll save that in case I want it, in case I have anything left over. But I'm going to chop this up, and I'm using the wavy blade because if you use your straight blade, you're going to get square pieces of clay. With the wavy blade, you'll find that your pieces are not quite so square. Square's okay. I was square when I was growing up. But let me just chop this up. You might want to do it in smaller batches. This is a pretty big batch to be chopping up. And it doesn't have to be chopped up real small, but enough that you can mix it with the other colors. I've got a little bit of copper in here, but these are just wood colors, you know, things that might be wood. I can't do anything until I make my tree. So I think that's going to be the project for today, is making the tree trunk and the branches. And I've been thinking about different ways to get this done. And if you're one of my patrons, you might remember I did a journal cover with birds and a tree, and I kind of like the way that tree turned out, so I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to take this, and after I chop it up, I'm going to mix up the colors. Let me mix anyway, so that they're all blended together. And I'm going to go back and finish chopping. But instead of having just a solid brown tree trunk, I'm going to have different colors in my tree trunk. So I'm going to chop these up. I want to chop up this blue. I don't want big chunks of blue in my tree. And I think that's enough. I don't need to keep chopping. I don't need to get ridiculous over this. But all the colors are kind of all mixed together. So now I'm going to press it together into a sheet. And I'm going to roll it, try to get it all mashed together. And what I'm going to do is roll this. After I get it rolled out, I'm going to roll it into a log, and then I'm going to put it in my extruder and extrude some logs. And I'm going to do a couple of different sizes. I'm going to do some big circles, little circles, and I should have gotten all that out, but let me show you what I plan on using. I'm going to use my Makin's extruder, and I'm going to roll some of these, which is a fairly large circle, and I'm going to roll some of these, which is a little bit smaller circle. Except I just dropped it into my drawer. I'll get it out in a minute. I'm going to use this one, which is the tiny circle. And I may use, I don't know yet, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I was going to use something like this that was kind of flat. You know, this is like a trapezoid or whatever you want to call it. But I think I'm going to stick with circles. Let me put this back in my box. This is the best box. It's an art bin. I believe it's an art bin. I don't see a name on it. I got this at Polymer Clay Express many years ago. And it just works perfect for things like your extruder and dies and everything. I've got to find that die. I got to dig in my drawer. Hold on just a minute. Okay, I got it. I keep my drawer open because when I drop things, I don't want it to go on the floor. But as a result, I get a lot of things right here in this drawer. So I got my 3 dies. And I'm going to roll this out until it's kind of, you know, well put together. See, this side is still kind of open, so I'm going to roll that one. You roll it in both directions to close up your gaps, because gaps mean what? Air. Alright, so I'm just going to grab a chunk. I'll go ahead and cut it up. I don't need that much of this color. I'm just cutting an amount that I think will fit into my extruder. You ever use clay to clean your surface with? I do it all the time. So let me roll this to where I can get it round to go in my extruder. Press the ends to make them flat. That should be about the size to go in here. Take off my cap, back this up. And a good thing to do is to have this screw part be the length of this, so then you'll know that your log will fit in there. See, that's not quite long enough. That's plenty long. So I know I can put this down in there. And I think I'm going to start with the large one first, the large circle. Because the first thing I'll do is the trunk, and that would have larger circles in it. Just use my finger until it gets to where it starts to extrude. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude this whole thing. And then I'll go ahead and work with this one before I extrude the other sizes. Because whatever's left over I can put back into one of the logs and use for the next size. Alright, I'm at the end, and I always back it up a little bit because that takes the pressure off of this cap so that you can open it easier. Just pinch that off. And then you can screw it back again to get the die off. And I just use my fingernail to get the clay. If you need more than a fingernail, you can use anything. I'm going to go ahead and put the next size in here just to put it on. Whoops. Well, there's something about that size die. Maybe I'm meant to not use it. Because that's the one that dropped into my drawer, and I dropped this, and I don't see where it went. So I'm going to have to look for that one. So I'm just going to lay it down. And let me move my project over here. Now, if you look at my picture, my diagram, I've got the tree up here. And I may come up with the branch and then down, rather than have it like that. But just wanted to kind of refer to that. And I'm going to place this. Actually, I'm just going to roll this all the way up to the top. Because I know the trunk is going to be at least that tall. And I'm going to put this one beside it and pinch that off down here. Make sure they stick together. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but this brown is variegated. It's all different colors instead of it being just a solid brown. But when you look at it, you think it's just brown. And I think I'm going to put one more. And I'm going to come up like this. Going to roll this one into a point. Actually, it broke. Probably ought to do that this way. Because I'm going to want the whole end tapered, not just the point. So I'll come down again, and I'm starting and stopping a little bit beyond the end. So I can just trim it off when I'm finished. And just work until it looks pleasing to you. And I kind of like that. I'm going to roll this into a point, just at the point to go up in here. And I'm going to curve it out because that's going to be the trunk. And I'm just going to take this piece and stick it in here, but I have the others that I can use too. So the next one that I need to use is the medium size, which is the one I just lost. Let me see if I happen to just see it somewhere. I don't know where it went. I didn't see it. It just went flying, and I'm not sure where it flew to. But I think I've got another one. I may just get the other one out, and I'll look for this later. Because I have two sets of dies, so I should have a duplicate for this size. See, there's my duplicate for the large one. And I don't see a duplicate for this one. So I'm going to have to find it. Okay. Let me take a break while I find this, because I can't use the small one until after I have done the medium-sized one. So let me look for this die, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and it is a new day. It's Monday, And the men are outside working on my road today, so excuse me, it's going to make it a little difficult, but I can't wait for them to stop. It could take a week before they're finished. So anyway, what I did find my die that I was looking for, the medium-sized die. Excuse me. Now I went ahead and extruded the brown clay that I needed, but when I was looking at this, I didn't like the way my branch was falling. I apologize for that. I got choked, and there didn't seem to be anything I could do to get it to stop, so I just had to cut the camera, go get a drink of water, and now I'm sucking on a ginger candy, so that ought to clear things up. But I believe I was telling you that I had found the extruder, the die that I needed for the extruder, and that I had changed the orientation of my branch. I found that I really didn't like it coming down. I had it coming off the top, and I think when you look at a tree, most branches come out from the bottom of a tree, so I changed that. And now I'm going to take some of the smaller pieces. Now this is going to be a very dimensional project, but I may just take this and just run straight up the top, the crevice here between those two logs. And this kind of covers up some of the things. I'm going to leave this because I may need it for a branch. And as you can see, as you extrude this, it gets a little crinkly. So I'm just kind of rolling it to make it straight. And this one, I'm going to run up on the seam between those two. And then I'm going to come out and run alongside this. And I may even have that run off the side. And looking at my picture, I had one coming off down here on the summer side. So I think I'll just go ahead and do that. Let me cut this at an angle. But I want it low enough that I can have some things on it here. And I'm going to take, I have these clay shapers that have the soft on top, but I think since a lot of this is scrap clay, I'm going to use the little tool I have here that's just like got a little scoop on the end, to use that to just kind of smooth this. And just keep adding. At this point, you can probably break this off into smaller pieces because you don't know where you're going to be adding. I'm going to have one come off this way. And I'll just make this into a little point. It doesn't have to be a sharp point because I'm going to have leaves come off of that. And I think I'll have another one come off here and come over here into the spring. I don't know that I'm gonna, yeah, I will. I was gonna say, if you're not sure that's where you want it to be, you cannot press it into this main piece. And I believe I will come out here. Maybe like that. And I still have some of this, which is the medium size. I'm just going to leave that over here on the side. And now I'm going to take another piece of clay and mash it and roll it and get it into a, I may even twist it and turn it this way. And I'm going to get it into a size that it'll fit into my extruder. And use the small circle, and we'll finish building our tree. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now here's my small extrusion, and again I'm going to come here and I'm going to fill in just a little bit. Actually, I think that's the only one I really need to use to make this more round looking instead of kind of bumpy. And I'm just going to do the same thing here. Maybe fill in, I'm going to roll a point. But just to fill this in so it doesn't look like an abnormal branch. And I'll probably pull this off there, point the end so that it blends in better. And it just gives it a more natural look, plus it adds some texture. Now the rest of this I'm going to use to make smaller branches. And I'm planning on doing a small branch here. And I'm not going to have that one go off the side. I'm going to have that one end like right there. I might make this one curve down a little bit. There. It's one good thing, as long as this is not pressed real firmly, you can still pick it up and move it. And I'm going to have some branches coming off of here. Some smaller little branches. Because I'm going to need some leaves for the summer. And here's a little piece I'll just stick on right here. Because, you know, even your big branches of your trees have little branches that branch off of them. And I'm not going to fill this up. But I want something to have leaves coming off of it. And let's see, let me have one come off this way. And you just do it until it looks like what you want it to look like. I think I'm going to have another one come off here and make it a shorter one. And I need something off of this one, so I think I'll just have this come up here. There. And I'll blend this one in because I think I like where that one is, so I'll leave that there. And I don't know, I'll just add a few here and there, and I've got plenty of this left so I can add more later. But I'm going to trim this off now at the top. And I didn't cut it very even because I got a little bit of the blue in there. And remember that these are going to be separate tiles, so this is all going to get cut. So you've got to keep that in mind also when you're putting your tree together. But this is going to be the end of part 2, and that's building the tree. So I hope you like this. The next part I will be adding leaves and flowers and things. So come back next week and we will take this to the next step. Thanks. Bye-bye.